Hello and welcome to the Best Games in 1998 Talk Shop with the Loresworn Order. My name is DM Schmeier, and this is my co-host, partner in crime, TJ Afer.
I want to know what crimes it is we're committing, because we always seem to describe each other as partners in crime, but...
Crimes against lame, bro.
Yeah, that's like... I love that. That's such a super, 90s thing,
Crimes against lame.
Don't commit crimes against society. Commit crimes against lameness.
As Link would say,
yeah. Yeah. So we have the most stacked year so far here, I think.
Oh my god.
I think indisputably this has been the toughest year to separate.
This weird gives me gamer goosebumps. This one is...
Yeah.
Oh man, and this list... Jesus. When I use a pool approach when I compile these lists, so I'll take all the games that I played, and I'll put them on a list, and then I'll just kind of look at it and sort them out. I have this document where I do columns and whatnot. This one gave me a headache. I actually had to fuddle with this one for 40 minutes. It wasn't... The top three shook out easily. But... After that, oh my goodness, this was one of the hardest, 4 or 5 honorable mention. What didn't make my honorable mention list? Crap. This one was tough.
It's I think a bar was set in 1998, and it was a bar that was much higher than what had come before it, and that would not really be hurdled for a while, actually.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah, just 3 of the... most shining examples of a quality video game that would come to mind. You'd start listing them off and realize these 3 were in there and be like, oh wow, those all came out the same year. I wasn't even thinking about it that way.
No, and
they're not just 1998 greats; they're all-time greats.
Yeah. So a lot of titles getting the shaft this year. Sorry, not sorry is kind of my thing on that, but I think we do ourselves credit, and we do it credit to do it like we just did it.
Yeah.
This was amazing. Everything involved in this year was absolutely stellar. We chose what we chose because it was special to us, and because we felt like it rose just a little bit above the rest. That's our whole MO here. So. But man, what a year. Goodness gracious. Yeah, I suppose there wasn't a whole lot of classing it up going on this last couple of weeks. We've just been busy.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Been checking a lot of boxes.
Yeah.
I've been drinking through a 6-pack of that Blue Moon cinnamon horchata ale.
Which was surprisingly good. I didn't even know if I was going to like it. I did enjoy it.
I love horchata and its superior cousin, rum chata. And... I couldn't not try it at least once in my life was kind of my logic like that. If I enjoy something and they make a beer that evokes it in the title, I kind of have to sit down and sample those wares. But I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I have either. Even the beer itself, it's kind of cloudy, so I was a little skeptical. What did they put something in this? That's probably an awful idea.
The best.
And well, when you're thinking horchata in the beer, it's I hope they didn't do that. They didn't. Incredible. It's very, very good. I give it a solid 9 out of 10 as far as a low budget drinking beer. I'll probably go get more when I'm done with this, to be honest with you. So
I managed to snag a Delirium Tremens on a clearance thing. I don't even know why they had it on clearance, because it's a Belgian, it's an 8.5% alcohol Belgian ale that's only going to get better the longer you keep it around. So I managed to get that for a steal. It's a very high quality Belgian ale. If you get a chance to try that,
ale.
It's like a blue can with a pink elephant on it. You can't miss it. It's good stuff.
Ale. I'm a big fan of those who can brew a decent ale.
We apologize to whatever nationality that was.
Not really a nationality in particular. It was a quote, but. A quote done in an accent inferior to the accent done in the original quote, and one cannot lie.
Yeah.
But they don't pay me the big bucks to do that yet.
No.
Alrighty. Hitting the honorable mentions.
Yeah?
Well, one of the honorable mentions that we both agreed upon was Star Wars Rogue Squadron.
Yep.
And this is a little different. So, X-Wing TIE Fighter, they put you in the cockpit. Rogue Squadron really does not. Or I think it has a mode, but it's vastly inferior to the...
It was different. It wasn't really a simulator. It was more arcadey. I'm not sure if there had been anything exactly like it up to that point.
It was an action space fighter.
I mean, it was kind of like Star Fox, honestly. That's probably the closest equivalent.
Except instead of on rails, it would deposit you in these large open stages and task you with objectives and sort of send you after it, which was cool. It worked. Yeah. One of the things I love about Rogue Squadron is I don't think it had a weak stage. It's like a 15-stage-ish game.
Yeah.
And, the intro tutorial, you're bullseyeing Imperial probes on Tatooine. It's a little boring. But everything after that, my goodness. Like some of the more intense space battles to ever grace video games. And people forget, man, Rogue Squadron on anything other than easy mode is friggin' hard.
Oh, yeah. Well, and they had all those, metal levels that you could unlock. So even when you got good at the game, it's like, okay, how good can you get?
Well, what I love about it is
on every mission.
The number one thing difficulty affects is, hey, do you want hero of your own story plot armor, or do you want the armor that a pilot of an X-wing has?
Yeah.
Because as we see in the movies, an X-wing can take exactly 2 or 3 shots more than a TIE fighter can.
Yeah.
As far as armor and shields go. And when you get to hard on Rogue Squadron, it's about the margin of error you're working with. And I remember as a kid, that actually took me a lot to get used to.
Yeah.
Because even on easy, I think easy mode doubles that. Ish,
something
you're
like
still
that.
Not durable though.
Yeah, you can still get blown the hell up on that volcano level in 2 seconds.
And if you're doing they have tribute levels, which I love. They let you do the Battle of Hoth, the Battle of the Death Star.
Yeah.
If you do the Battle of the Death Star and you don't go into the trench moving on a zero dive sort of sachet and serpentine, those turret defenses shred you.
Yeah.
And I remember I had trouble with that 50 times playing that, getting into the trench was okay, they made this look easy in the movie. So I really enjoyed that about Rogue Squadron. It was hey, these guys who pilot these space fighters are actually badasses and have a very dangerous job, and this game made you feel that way.
Now, how many gunners do you think it took to man the entire outside of the Death Star defense system?
I think 100,000.
Well, because if it's the size of a small moon, I'm wondering, is there a guy per turret, or do they have some sort of a networked system where there's 1,000 gunners on the ready, and they can take control remotely of whatever turrets are most relevant?
I mean, it depends on how much
any given attack.
Galen Erso wanted to go down the whole efficiency track.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, the movie goes kind of the movie Rogue One goes kind of whole hog on.
It really
his
does.
thing.
It really does explain a lot of shit. If you can explain it as Galen Erso was half-assing it on purpose.
Yeah, Galen Erso was press ganged and designing this big space station and didn't made the greatest weapon in the galaxy, mind you, but didn't do the greatest job.
Where does all of their poop go? I know, right?
Yeah. Got them, Imperials.
Yep. Once they get one flush too many, they're gonna realize this whole house of cards is coming down on them.
Coming down hard. We'll see how smug Moff Tarkin is then.
Yeah,
that's second level cruel there. That's second level hardcore.
Even for the Empire, I think that might be a little too cruel.
Man, good game though. I played a lot of Rogue when I was in grade school.
Oh yeah, I remember trying to farm for those gold medals, and man, some missions it was just
Well, it was a lot like, if I recall, it was a lot like GoldenEye that way, where gold medals unlocked you stuff. But alive, were they difficult to get.
Yeah, there were missions where to get the gold, you would not only have to, beat the level in a certain amount of time, kill a certain amount of enemies, protect all of the allied hover trains, not lose any of them. It was pretty hardcore.
It also had one of the hardest, I think, final stages I've ever played in a game. Mon Calamari with the V-Wing. Goodness sake. This land battle.
Yeah.
You gotta stay above the surface. You can't go too far above the surface or the sky starts getting thick with fire, and you're just strafe running stuff and pulling these tight corners, and it was like, goodness sake.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun. But yeah, arcadey. And I think the successor to games like this is really more of like the Ace Combat games and stuff like that have come out since. Fighters that put you behind the wheel of like a jet plane or a space fighter that aren't necessarily designed to be a simulator. They're designed to make it easy to control, intuitive to control, keep the action fast-paced, but then kind of unleash you on cinematic-style dogfights. And I like those games.
Yeah.
Like, I like them a lot, actually. So I'm thankful to Rogue Squadron for putting out a masterpiece in that sort of mold and sort of setting the bar for what came after.
Also had some very good unsung sequels on the GameCube that didn't sell that well, but are also worthy of praise.
Old GameCube.
Yeah. I think the other honorable mention we agreed on is like the emblematic honorable mention game. I think it's like the perfect example of a really good game that does not quite make a top 5 spot. Like, this is the bar for that.
Banjo-Kazooie. It's the gatekeeper platformer. It did everything very well without doing anything remarkably. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. We'll put it this way. There are a lot of millionaire boxers out there who are millionaires precisely because they are very good without being great. They get all the fights they want and get paid big money. And Banjo-Kazooie, it brought the young crowd, it brought the older crowd, it brought the platform enthusiasts, it brought the cartoon enthusiasts.
Yeah.
Like, this game actually had a really wide market when you look at it from afar, and it played like butter. Just very smooth.
You know, Mario 64 was so successful that everyone was hungry for more games like Mario 64, and a lot failed, and I think Banjo-Kazooie is one of the ones that at least came close to filling that,
what Banjo did right that makes it a great standalone right alongside Mario 64. And it's funny, Banjo-Kazooie had no chance at being a top game, I think, this year. But I think it's a comparable game to Mario 64. Like, if I were scoring them, they would receive similar scores to me.
Yeah, I'd say it's maybe like, half a step below Mario 64, but they're both very good open world platform. Well, Mario 64 is kind of hybrid open world. I'm not sure how you
Banjo-Kazooie, I think, is kind of definitely open world.
Yeah.
They give you the overworld and then these large open stages and just kind of set you to work.
Well, and
one of the things that I loved about it is it had very unique protagonist abilities. Like what you as Banjo and Kazooie were able to do as the character. I thought every single one of them was kind of just creative and enjoyable, and ultimately Mario is limited as a protagonist, and every Mario game I think suffers this, not necessarily as a flaw, but as a disappointment, in that Mario doesn't do a lot besides jump and run around. Banjo-Kazooie, man, you're flying, you're using wing shields, you're using peck attacks, you've got these dive bomb moves, you've got this invulnerability wing shield, I loved that.
Yeah.
That was cool. Unlocking an ability in Banjo-Kazooie felt like an accomplishment, and your mind would begin to turn about ways that you could use it. Like, it had a great way of pacing your ability game, too, where you never got the new power at the beginning of a stage. You always got it sort of near the end, and you could always think back. It's like, man, what does this unlock for me based on like my problem areas in this stage, and what am I doing? And I love that as far as game design goes.
Yeah, and Rare had kind of a unique attitude that they brought to the table, too, that would really be let off the chain in, some of their later stuff like the Conquer games. But you could definitely see it here that they had a different perspective, a different style of world building that was kind of fresh. And
Rare is cheeky.
Yeah.
They make games with attitude. They made games with attitude, especially platformers.
Slightly demented, I would say.
Well, I mean, some of the ideas they come up with, like Banjo-Kazooie, I think had incredibly unique and cool world design. Like, I don't know that it had a weak stage. Gobi's Desert, maybe. But I don't know that it had a weak stage. And just some of the stuff they came up with was just, I think, really cool. Like Clanker, the big old jump fish, and you actually got to go inside Clanker.
Yeah.
Just cool stuff.
That's going to be a theme for 1998, going inside of giant fish.
Yeah, I know. That's depressingly true.
I also wanted to give a shout out to Fallout 2, which, much like Fallout 1, I picked up on a Steam bundle and only played a couple hours of, and found that it didn't hold up super well. But I thought it was worth an honorable mention.
I think it's also you got to give Fallout 2 this. I think it's I played more than a few hours, but I haven't finished it. I think it's indisputably a better game than Fallout 1. Yeah, this is an example of a sequel that learned from the original. It's very good original and put out a superior product and grew over time. And you see that Bethesda has done a good job with that in future, open world RPGs that they've made. I think Fallout 3 is a masterpiece. Fallout New Vegas made some tweaks. Fallout 4 made some gameplay tweaks for the better. I think Fallout 4 falls short in story, but I think it's decidedly a better game than the Fallouts that came before it. In terms of gameplay and whatnot, and it's the same sort of thing here. I thought that they upgraded the RPG elements. They made them make more sense in the world. They made it a little bit more intuitive, so that if you built your character wrong, you didn't have to literally skirt the edge of the screen to get out of the open couple of areas until you leveled up a couple of times. Yeah, which is one thing that I don't enjoy as much about the hardcore RPGs as old. I should be able to make the character I want to make and go whole hog into the world, even if it's hard. And Fallout 1, it almost lost my interest because of how much I died early. Oh, yeah. And I thought that Fallout 2 did a slightly better job, while still being hard and challenging and creative. So I'll give it a shout out, too. Yeah. It didn't crack my list, just because I think that the 7 games I put on my list are all kind of indisputably better. But it was a very good RPG on its own, and an improvement from the first one. So
yeah, definitely. Your other honorable mention actually was my number 4, which is it's an interesting case. The original Baldur's Gate.
Baldur's Gate. BioWare's real first quality RPG there.
Yeah, I ask myself if I don't remember it as fondly just because what came after it was so much better.
And Baldur's Gate 2 is better in every single category.
Because Baldur's Gate 2 was so great, because Knights of the Old Republic was so great, because, all of so much of what BioWare did after that was so much better. But the original Baldur's Gate, I put it at my number 4, actually, because I feel like it still deserves a recognition as one of the best games that came out that year. It was, I think, one of the first times I felt like they really got the feeling right of playing a video game of a well-written, Dungeons & Dragons tabletop campaign.
See, I thought Baldur's Gate 2 accomplished that. I'm not sure I thought Baldur's Gate 1 did. Baldur's Gate, it was... I mainly look at it as, this legacy of the isometric RPG. Yeah. And it was a very good isometric RPG. Yeah. Why it didn't crack my list is it didn't do anything that wowed me, or it didn't have a story that wowed me, which all my top 5 did. I replay BioWare games all the time. I would say I have 4 or 5 times... You look at my Steam, I have 4 or 5 times the hours in a BioWare game that it takes to beat one. Yeah. I replay them every couple of years, every 2-3 years. I just do. I've replayed Knights of the Old Republic some 6 or 7 times. Yeah. Both of them, and I've gone through the Baldur's Gate games and their expansions 3 or 4 times. And what ultimately kept Baldur's Gate off my list is Baldur's Gate's the game I get through to get to Baldur's Gate 2. Yeah. I enjoy it, but I'm not loving my time. Yeah. Parts of it feel like a grind.
I haven't replayed it more than once. The original, I played
the enhanced edition is very good. Yeah. They've done a great job. And the enhanced edition of Baldur's Gate 2 is a masterpiece. Yeah. So I love that they've updated, remastered, sort of brought it back. That's cool. Yeah. And they even made a sort of short interim game to fill the hole between Baldur's Gate 1 and 2.
Oh, really?
Which is, the Siege of Shadowspear or something
I've seen that on Steam. Okay.
And that is very good. Yeah. I'd say that is a solid 8, 9 out of 10 isometric RPG.
And was that just wholly created by Beamdog?
Yep.
Okay. Wow.
And it is the interim.
Kudos to them.
It takes you from the end of Baldur's Gate 1 to kind of the beginning-ish of Baldur's Gate 2. So it fills in the gap.
Okay.
And I like that because now, if you play them in sequence, which I'm currently working my way through, I'm currently playing Baldur's Gate 2 in my sequence, it feels like a contiguous story for your ball spawn, which is pretty slick. But Baldur's Gate 1 to me was kind of the weak link of those. So an honorable mention for being a legendary isometric RPG and definitely the first rung in BioWare's astonishing ladder of greatness that they're prepared to start rocking up.
Yeah. Yep.
But I think what they followed this one with is legendary, whereas this title was just very good. That is my opinion.
I would agree.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think you rated it too high. If it would have cracked the top 3, I'd have given you side eye. But I think 4, generous is fair.
Your 4 and 5 are games I still have not played, so it's very possible they would have knocked.
Okay, Suikoden I get, but no Grim?
Yeah, that's on my pile of shame.
Shit, TJ, it's 15 hours or so. Get on that.
Yeah,
that's a top 25 game in history.
I know. I need to do it. People keep bugging me about it. So
I mean, that one is a box you can check easy. People kept bugging me about Persona 3 for years, and I was like, I don't have 80 hours right now, thanks.
That's like how I feel about like Star Ocean and like some of those other...
I don't have any room for an 80-hour... And turns out I was being a little bit of a bitch. Persona 3 was only 60 hours, not 80. But I got... That was definitely one of those titles where I was like, I'll get around to it. Grim Fandango, you can get around. Like, I bet you if you gave that an hour to an hour and a half a day, you'd be through Grim Fandango in a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks max. So,
gotcha.
I think that one is worth. Dang. Okay, that's me getting on my soapbox for that.
So, well, since we've already mentioned it, you're number 4. What do you have to say about it?
About Grim?
Yeah.
I'll hit Suikoden and Grim because they're both not on your list. Suikoden 2, I love. I think I've been asked like if I could make a list of the most underrated RPGs of all time, like RPGs that no one sings of when they're talking about like the great ones, Suikoden 2 might be number 1, and if it's not number 1, it'll certainly be number 2.
Yeah,
it seems like it's one of those games that is amazing and no one has played. And what I love about it is. It did not take us immediately into like a sword and sorcery realm of fantastic stakes. It is a sword and sorcery sort of realm, but you're not fighting for the fate of like 2 worlds. Yeah. You're not fighting against a god. It's a game of kingdoms and the power balance between them and raising an army to oppose a despot. And the villain is just that, a flawed, merciless, extremely well-written despot, Prince Blight, Luca Blight, and I love that. This game, Suikoden 2, I'll say it because it's the name that comes to mind. It has a very Game of Thrones feel to me.
Okay.
Where your relationships with characters is just as much about political intrigue and like what you can do for them, and as it does, like we are fated to save the world together because you can cast fireballs and I can cast lightning bolts. It had a duel mechanic, which admittedly not very robust, added some great tense moments to some key parts of the game. Like one of the things that I love that I just have to give Suikoden 2 a standing ovation for doing is you're having this tense charged moment with this one villain character. And then rather than take you to a party combat screen where that tense villain character turns into like a Cerberus dragon for some reason and your 4 badass characters wail on it, Angel Sephiroth, Final Fantasy VII. It makes no goddamn sense, but we need a final boss battle that's badass. So here you go.
Yeah.
We need that shit. Yeah. Suikoden 2 takes you to a duel screen. You fight one-on-one with that shit. No fireballs. No, it was like this rock paper scissors type combat game where you fought one-on-one because that's what it narratively demanded.
Nice.
And it had its like party combat screen, but it also had a massive battles mode where you took your armies to war and like sort of this tactics ogre light way of doing things, and it made the narrative understood scale, and then when it had its gameplay moments commensurate to the narrative, it lets you do scale appropriately. And I love that. I love Suikoden 2 for that. It's like an RPG with kingdom level stakes done well that at no point broke immersion with me because of gameplay. Had enough gameplay and battle modes that I was right there in the story and everything going on, with me and my name your own protagonist, Tonfa wielding, rogue main character. I was along with them every step of the way, so I love that. Grim Fandango is no less than the greatest action adventure game of all time. It's tough to describe to people who haven't played it. It's hard to sell to people who haven't played it because it's so unique and such an interesting spin on the source material.
That's what everybody tells me is the less I tell you about it, the better. Just play it.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel.
Yeah.
And it was so great and so highly sung yet not widely played when it originally came out. It's been remastered. It's come out since to just as much acclaim, so I won't spoil much. I don't think that's fair. This is one of those games that is still kind of picking up steam in the annals of gaming history today with remastered versions and whatnot. I will say, masterful character writing, one of the most unique, innovative, and creative settings ever put forward in gaming, and just oozes charm and humor. I loved this one. What a rollicking ride. What a game that's enjoyable to the minute played. No weak segments at all. And I love that. That's an accomplishment. And every adventure game since has tried to live up to this one, and most of them have failed. So you gotta give it up. Hail to the king, baby.
Fair enough. So my number 5 was the original Marvel vs. Capcom. Which I described on the written version of this, which you can check out on Loresworn.com. It was Smash Bros. Before Smash Bros.
It was.
It was the first time that multiple franchises, universes were combined in one game, and you could really hash out the question of who would win. Who would win between a fight between Mega Man and Spider-Man. That was so cool. The controls were great. The special moves were great. The roster was huge. And almost everybody was competitive to some degree. There were obviously, with any fighting game, there are going to be characters that kind of rise to be the esports cream of the crop.
But Marvel vs. Capcom has always done a good job of...
Right.
They've never had a Scorpion. In the original Mortal Kombat, Scorpion is broken. And that's well known amongst fighter players.
Yeah.
He's so good, he's broken.
Yeah.
If you know how to use him, you're all but invincible.
Like Hadouken spam in the earlier Street Fighter games, where you couldn't really get out of it.
Marvel vs. Capcom, I don't think, has ever had that problem.
Well,
and neither has Super Smash Bros. To use that credit. They have characters that are indisputably weaker and harder to utilize. They have their tiers.
I think Fox got close to being that in Melee. He wasn't necessarily broken. He was just so much better in the hands of a competitive player than most of the other characters were. I don't think any of the characters were broken. The other thing Marvel vs. Capcom introduced was the tag team.
Yes, which is just cool.
Which was really cool because you could build strategies around
who you picked.
Yeah, how I'm going to use these two specific characters, and I'm going to use someone who's a really good initiator, and then I'm going to pick someone who's a good finisher.
Well, and
trying to...
I love how you can turn the tables.
Yeah.
If you're Spider-Man and you're going up against a team with the Hulk and Magneto, the anti-jugglers, the other guy's looking at you I picked Magneto and Hulk and you pick Spider-Man, I'm gonna wreck your shit. But if you pick Spider-Man and Iron Man, you know how to use their ultimate tag team attack. You have the advantage in that matchup, and the other guy might not even know that. I'm using a famous example from a famous moment in esports history, but the other player might not even know that you just, by picking your tag teammate, you're playing checkers, or chess, he's playing checkers.
Yeah, it set up all these interesting mind games of counters and counters, where it's okay, I know this guy is going to play Wolverine. But if I pick the guy who counters Wolverine, he's going to pick his tag team counter as the guy who counters the guy who counters Wolverine. Mm-hmm. It was this when you have two characters instead of one, it creates all of these interesting strategic considerations that I thought were really cool.
Deep strategic considerations. People still play this game on the esports scene and still checkmate each other.
I think it's still one of the best.
Like when you watch Marvel vs. Capcom, professional players are still getting checkmated by certain combinations. It's like they don't have this all on lock. Like I know every combination and what counters every combination, because you still see in like championships and whatnot a dude get completely riggedy wrecked by a combination he didn't see coming. That is a hard counter to what he chose, and I like that.
I like it a lot. I think it's one of the most fun fighting games to watch to this day. Yep.
And that is and always will be. Esports is ready, in my opinion. To get bigger, to have a broader audience. Watchability is still its biggest problem.
Oh yeah.
I think games like Overwatch are actually coming a long way towards solving that. And good casters for games like StarCraft 2
casters are essential. Yeah,
are coming a long way towards solving that.
My StarCraft viewing, StarCraft 2 viewing went way down after Day 9 stopped casting tournaments. Like it really does make.
Well, you got to explain what's going on, why it's exciting. And here's the thing, right? I'm a fighter. I'm a boxer and a mixed martial artist. Watch a high level technical fight, like I'm just trying to pull some stuff out of my head here, like a Chris Bird versus a David Tua, or a Dominic Cruz versus a TJ Dillashaw, for an MMA example. Watch it without commentary. You got to be an enthusiast of the sport. You really do.
Yeah.
Like I've tried it. I've done this experiment before. Like these are legendary exhibitions of skill and daring and.
You know from watching stuff with me, because if the commentary's turned off and you're not explaining to me what's going on, half of mixed martial arts matches to me are like, why don't they get off the ground? Why are they doing that?
What is going on?
Why doesn't he get away and hit him in the head?
A good commentator not only opens what is happening up to the audience in an educating fashion, but really makes it exciting. Not only am I going to tell you why these guys are studs, I'm going to tell you why this is awesome. And for all the hate he gets, HBO's Jim Lampley will always be our generation's Howard Cosell for that, as far as I'm concerned. Like, he gets fired up at the right moments, and he lets his color guys talk. Yeah. And I feel like Day 9 was the same way. Yeah. Like, he let you in on what was going on to the best of his ability. And he was a very educated dude who knew a lot, but he was by no means like a StarCraft 2 Grandmaster or a StarCraft Grandmaster. But he knew what he knew, and he let you in on it. He let his fellow caster talk, and he always knew the moments to let the action unfolding in front of him speak for itself. Yeah. Like, the dude, if he had that same level of knowledge for a sport, I'd put him on ESPN. I really do. Like, he has a gift for that. So if you're watching or listening to this ever, Day 9, you have my ups. That's one of the most underrated jobs in media. And that dude was gifted. He was not only technically good at it, he was gifted at it. And I'm with you. I actually stopped watching when he stopped casting because I can't get into it as much anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully with StarCraft Remastered coming out, we'll see more of him. He's casting the exhibition tournament that they're doing today.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so that's pretty awesome. Seeing like a bunch of old Brood War guys coming back and being like, "Oh yeah, remember this strategy? Remember that stupid bug?" Like,
well, and great for Blizzard for remastering and not changing.
Right. Like that. No, there would have been rioting in the streets of Seoul if they had even changed the speed of a Zergling by 1%.
Have you seen it though? It's pretty.
It looks nice. It's 2D isometric, but it's nice looking.
We cut our teeth on a lot of our own competitive RTSing, playing the high difficulties of the StarCraft campaign.
Let's just say this, because this is the next game we're going to talk about, is the original StarCraft. It's your number 3. It's actually my number 1 for this year.
The top three on this, I'm not going to even. It is my personal opinion that my number 1, I think, is towers over the rest of the field, not just on this year, but in gaming history. Yeah. But I'm not going to get too salty or critical. The top 3 of this year are top 10 games.
They are.
Period.
You can't.
You can't hate. Like,
98.
The order on this one, the order on this one doesn't even friggin' matter. So let's just talk and gush about the StarCraft.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a better RTS?
I think
discuss.
When it comes to pure mechanical elegance and balance and, deep tactics and strategy,
and friggin' genius.
Think, no. To this day, Blizzard has not outdone themselves on that. The fact that they were able to create this game with these 3 extremely different races that play extremely differently and have extremely different toolboxes, and every matchup was so balanced. The mirror matchups were balanced. The non-mirror matchups were all super balanced. Like, you look at the numbers, and
I love watching Zerg v Zerg.
StarCraft
and the original
2,
StarCraft. It's fun.
Yeah, StarCraft 2 never got to the balanced win rate that the original StarCraft Brood War had.
It was almost like when you talk about like brilliant alchemy and like a lab,
did briefly
like
at certain times.
Eureka.
Yeah,
I feel like Blizzard caught some astounding surge of genius when they made this game and balanced it. That not only have they not really replicated since, even though they've been putting out amazing games since, but that I'm not sure anyone can replicate since. Like there's something almost extra natural going on in StarCraft.
And there's something to be said for the fact that it was not streamlined. This is what a lot of these guys who are switching from StarCraft 2 back over to StarCraft Remastered now are saying is like, no, the fact that you could only select 12 units at a time, that was part of the point. The fact that the pathfinding was so bad, that was part of the point. Like, that's what gave it such a high skill cap, and what let, like, when people would, like, exploit pathfinding bugs with mutalisks to pull off some sort of insane, thing that shouldn't have been possible, you're like, holy shit. Like, the amount of, like, actions per minute, APM, that is required for him to have just done that just now in this, game from 1998 where the controls aren't really that great half the time is astounding. Like, it was...
And you can talk about its mechanical brilliance.
Yeah.
But I still think probably to this day the best RTS campaign, like in terms of story ever. It had It had a great epic space operatic story for all 3 of the races.
It was a great story. I'm not sure if I'd call it the best, but it was a great campaign. The whole space cowboy thing they had going on.
Yeah, with cloak and dagger
and
betrayal and epic and toppling states. And
these different human factions. It wasn't just like the humans are fighting against the aliens. Like, no, and the character of Kerrigan is a fantastic villain. The fact that until pretty late in Brood War, you didn't really know if she was a good guy or a bad guy.
Yeah.
Mengsk was a fantastic character.
I love that bait and switch. I love that twist.
Yeah.
Because I did not actually see it coming when I was young and playing the game. It threw me. I needed a minute.
The Protoss were just such an interesting, different...
enigmatic, badass.
Yeah, alien culture that... you had the humans and you had the evil space bugs, but then the Protoss were kind of this wild card where they weren't really exactly like any other aliens that you had seen in a sci-fi story before. At least
they were. I found when you talk aliens, like so much gets recycled.
Yeah.
So much is unoriginal. The Protoss were a legitimately cool, unique invention. The Zerg obviously were inspired a lot by the alien movies and, like a lot.
They're an giant evil swarm of insects.
But the Protoss are very unique, and that's cool. So
absolutely.
Probably the best like technical RTS game, like in terms of what it accomplished with its gameplay and its balance. It's not going to ever be knocked off, guys. Like everyone's like, don't say never, but it's obvious when you play it that it's a special cocktail and possibly an unreplicable one.
It's still the bar to beat, and it stands above. There is a tournament going on right now.
Yep, and some mighty swings have been taken at that perch. Like StarCraft 2 was good.
The only other. I'm trying to think what would be placed in the same league, and it's really a lot of games that didn't even have the same objective as StarCraft. Like Supreme Commander Forged Alliance could arguably be placed on the same tier, but that's a very high-level strategic RTS with, like, thousands of units. Like, it's not even trying to be the same kind of game.
Yeah, no, I hear that.
I don't think the scale of RTS that StarCraft is, I don't think anyone's really come close.
Yeah, they haven't.
Yeah.
Really?
Warcraft 3, fantastic game. We're going to talk about it, but it was a hero game where your army is also there. So.
And that's what it tried to be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
So Half-Life is the next game we're going to discuss.
My number 3, your number 2.
Yeah, I mean, is it the best shooter ever? No, I think its sequel is probably most deserving of that. It's right up there competing with the original Halo. But is Half-Life the most influential shooter ever? I think you could argue it is.
We've talked a lot about games that upped the bar for immersion, and I think Half-Life is another one of those games, in the sense that it was basically even from the beginning, when you first wake up on the train at the beginning of Half-Life 1 to the very end, with the exception of a couple places where you're unconscious, it's a single stream of consciousness where you are never separated from Gordon Freeman's.
It is a day in Gordon Freeman's life.
Yeah,
one awful, terrible, no good, very bad day in Gordon Freeman's life. And it's a story. You are playing through a story. A thing is happening.
Yeah.
And a really innovative, creative thing. Like, I love... It's not alien invaders. It's extra dimensionality. It's portals. It's physics research. It's dark government black ops trying to cover up the truth.
And I've got to say, I love that trope in sci-fi of the, like, we're fucking with weird physics shit that we don't really know about, and something goes wrong. Like, that, I've always loved that trope.
I'm partial to it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you this, like, you gotta give them this. Just, like, Amazon.com is on the next level with their recommendations because of the data available at their fingertips. Like, it's amazing what they recommend to me. Like, I'm a Kindle Unlimited subscriber. It's worth every penny, by the way, if you're a reader and you're not.
Yeah.
We're Audible members.
Yeah.
Like, we consume a lot, and it's great. Like, so Kindle recommends shit to me all the time, and it will always recommend to me, like, games that are...
As always, not a sponsor, unless you want to be.
Amazon, if you want to chuck some endorsement dollars my way, holla at your boy.
Yeah.
All right? But they're never going to do that, so... Ever. We're what? We're the amoeboids on flies on them.
Well, we're getting there.
We're
about to
we've got some
5K.
Yeah, we've got some plans in the works.
We've got big stuff.
You'll be hearing about that in a few months.
Yeah.
We actually have decided to announce a lot of that stuff in a few months, so keep listening. Half-Life, I am such a big fan of this genre. This, like, mad science meets almost post-apocalyptic action-adventure sci-fi that I get recommended books on it by my Kindle and by Audible. I love it. It's a blast.
Yeah.
And I think my love for it started with Half-Life.
Yeah.
And I love that opening scene. It's one of the strongest opening scenes I've ever played in shooters. Like, I'm just going through a day in the life, and we're doing a science experiment. I wonder where this is going. Oh my God! That's where this is going. Like, that was a hair-raising, riveting edge of my seat half hour of gameplay, and it still ranks up there with me. Like, when I think about, like, the iconic gaming moments that I remember when I think about my iconic gaming moments, the first hour of Half-Life is up there for me.
Yeah.
Right up there.
Yeah. I actually want to... I still haven't played through Black Mesa yet. I want to go back
I want to, too.
Play through it and do probably Half-Life 2 after that as well.
I keep waiting for them to finish Black Mesa, though. Like, it's one of those where it's like it's on my games list, but they haven't put Zen in it yet.
Yeah.
And it's like, I kind of want to play that when it's finished.
Which that was so cool. Like, that was such a cool payoff at the end that you actually get to go see
the alien
where all
dimension.
These creatures came from. Final boss battle was awful. It's one reason it would never be a number one on my list. Because, the final boss battle of Half-Life was incomprehensible and garbage.
Yeah, and it was really easy, too. Like, really easy, disappointingly easy.
Well, easy if you knew what you were doing. If you're just bouncing around inside there and you have no idea what the hell is going on. Like, nothing previously... This is a big thing that games have gotten so much better at since 1998, is don't throw a challenge at a player that they have not been taught to face by the rest of the game up until then.
Yes.
Like, there was nothing previous to the final boss battle in Half-Life that taught you what you were supposed to do in the final boss battle at Half-Life.
Yeah.
You just had to kind of figure it out by trial and error at the spur of the moment, which made it highly anticlimactic because it was supposed to be the finale of
and really the only thing in that game that you could call jarring, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I love it. It's so immersive. You feel like you are living through the eyes of this everyman scientist in this horrible post-apocalyptic situation. And I love it too, and it's something I've actually tried to attack with my own writing. I love what makes Gordon Freeman a hero to the player. Mm-hmm. It's like, you've got to save the world, dude. You're not ready to. You don't feel qualified to, you and your crowbar and your pistol.
Yeah.
But you're kind of all that stands between the world and this extra-dimensional menace that you've helped unleash.
Yeah.
And I find that incredibly immersive because you can put yourself in those shoes a lot easier than you can put yourself in the shoes of, like, Sergeant Badass, the Uber Paladin, the legendary chosen one hero of yore, with his plate armor and his holy hammer and his angel wings. Like, that's not immersive, that's power fantasy.
Yeah.
Gordon Freeman is immersion. It's like, you can... I remember, like, just having to actually think, just to process this game.
Yeah.
Like, could you do any less in the situation? It's like, hey, by the way, you're the only scientist who's survived this clusterfuck of epic proportions that you have unleashed. And if you don't stop it, everyone you know and love in your entire world will be consumed. Here's a crowbar, here's a pistol, get to it, hero. And that is so powerful to me from like a fiction standpoint. And despite the fact that, is Gordon Freeman essentially John Rambo? Yes, because he's a first-person shooter character.
Yeah.
But he never feels like that.
Right.
And that's a towering achievement, in my opinion.
Definitely. Well, that brings us...
I think the greatest game of all time. The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Gaming changed after this title. There's pre-Ocarina and there's post-Ocarina, as far as I'm concerned. You want to talk about raising the bar? Ocarina of Time took everything that it tried to do, some of it unique and innovative, some of it, like other games have done this, we're going to do it better, and punted it into the stratosphere, like NFL kicker hang time, like halftime kickoff style.
Yeah.
Like, the bar on this didn't get raised so much as it got installed on a skyscraper, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And you can actually look to posterity for this. Go back and read what magazine previews and reviews, like in Nintendo Power, were saying about Zelda. This was blowing the minds of, like, seasoned games journalists who had been talking and writing about games for 5-6 years, as long as games journalism had been a thing.
Yeah.
Like, this was melting faces. Like, I love rereading some of the old school reviews and previews because they didn't even know how to put it in context. And I kind of struggle doing the same.
Yeah.
Because it's everything. Like, it's everything.
It's pretty damn close to a perfect game. We've said that about a couple things on this list, but I think it's more true of Ocarina than any of the other games we've applied that label to, because it's not only it's easy to have small ambitions, easier to have small ambitions and then do it perfectly, but to have as grand of ambitions as Ocarina had and to do it almost perfectly.
Flawless game overworld, flawless camera, flawless combat system for the type of game it was, flawless puzzle. It's a masterful puzzle game wrapped in an action adventure game. Had flawless atmosphere. Every stage is different from every other stage and just oozes setting and tone. Yeah. Like, I could get lost in the Ocarina of Time dungeons and it didn't bother me. Yeah. Like, the forest temple, the fire temple, it's like, this is cool.
I could probably draw out every area in that game on a map on paper fairly accurately, because I'm trying to think how many times I've completed it. For a game that doesn't have branching story or any kind of like plot reactivity at all, it's linear.
The replayability it achieved out of sheer excellence.
It's easily the game that I've replayed the most times. I think I have completed Ocarina of Time all the way through from Kakiri Forest all the way up to Ganon at least 9 times.
And think of what that means.
Yeah.
The replayability of this title stemmed sheerly from excellence.
Yeah.
Because it never changed.
There was one summer when I had not played it in a while, and I picked it up and played it, and then I immediately started a new file again after I finished it.
I don't know that I can think of another game that was replayable purely on excellence. Nothing is going to change.
Nothing of this scope.
Yeah, nothing is going to change, really, from one playthrough or another. You can't really change the order.
But it was a world you wanted to continue to be lost in, yeah.
Yeah, and it's, as far as I'm concerned, I've never been found. Like, I can't really put into context, I'm struggling to put into words how much of a masterpiece this is.
Yeah.
And how much it changed everything. And the gaming world agrees with me, by the way. Metacritic, posterity, modern re-reviews of it, because a lot of gaming publications are kind of in the, we're going to go back and see. They're still like, it's a perfect game. Like, 10 out of 10.
It's still,
Well, and I'll never forget, like, this one guy from Electronic Gaming Monthly, he wrote in his review, like, I've never labeled a game 10 out of 10 earlier than Ocarina. He's like, I was in the Water Temple, and I was like, it's 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
I'll finish the game to finish the review, but he even says at one point he was like, I'm done reviewing this. Like, it's obvious it's a masterpiece.
Yeah.
It's obvious that at least up until 1998, I think it still arguably is, but at least up until 1998, it was obvious to everyone who played it, this is the greatest game ever made. Nothing up till 1998 was even competitive, and like the gaming establishment was in unanimous agreement about this.
Well, if you think like the previous game in this same series,
Link to the Past,
was a Link to the Past, and it's like that. This is such a massive step forward.
Yeah, A Link to the Past. Such a great game.
Yeah.
So amazing. So markedly inferior in every way. Like,
exactly.
It's not... Link to the Past can't hold a dog fart to Ocarina at a time.
Yeah. It was just an astoundingly high quality... Like, I'm trying to think, where's the weak point?
There is none.
Like, if I had to pick one, maybe
I've taken this apart a million times.
Like, as
maybe.
Kid Link, maybe.
But still cool, because Lens of Truth and horror atmosphere and...
that's the thing, like, it turned into a horror game. Like, the well and the
Shadow Temple.
The Shadow Temple,
But the Shadow Temple also became a horror power fantasy, because it's like, you're adult Link. You've got the badass gear and the Master Sword back.
Those things that used to be grabbing your face, you can slash them in half now.
That took 16 attacks with the Kakiri sword. They take 4 now. Like, congratulations, they're a trivial enemy. But you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna confront you with a Stalfos on a sinking frickin' boat and make you duel 2 of the hardest enemies in the game. Like, together, like, oh my god!
You know what we need to do, man?
What
we need to invest some Loresworn money into a Nintendo console and get Ocarina and Majora's Mask on Virtual Console and just play through that shit with like trading off the controller.
Yeah,
like it's been so long and I missed those games.
Yeah, I don't even know if if y'all are gonna be privy to that. Like, if we need to find some way to record that, but that is just a thing that needs to happen.
Yeah,
like,
man.
I completely agree. I'll go price them. Like, let's do it.
Yep, definitely. Oh man, there's like we could do a whole episode just on how great Ocarina of Time is.
Yeah, and by the way, not a negative thing would be said in that 60th episode. You can literally, and that's how I know that I think this is my number one, my greatest game of all time is. You can start at the beginning of the game and literally go through the game moment by moment, and you're just gushing the whole time.
Yeah.
You're not like, oh, and that was a weak moment, I wish they'd done that differently, or, oh, and man, wasn't that annoying. It was all like, and then this happened, and then this happened. And you'd be saying that till you were blue in the face before you got to the Master Sword and the Temple of Time. And you have a gamergasm at that moment.
I almost wish that I could have been like one of those initial like people that played it without any prior knowledge of it, who got the 3 spiritual stones together at the Temple of Time. I was like, okay, well
that's 30 hours.
That was a cool little game. And then no, you're not done. Like, not even close. Yeah.
Well, I'll never forget when they're like the 7 sages. I'm like, what? Like, I've spent 35 hours collecting the 3 stones.
Yeah.
And I got 7 to go.
Yeah.
And then the Forest Temple is like Jabu Jabu, the big fish that you go in to get the, Dodongo's Cavern, the Great Deku Tree. These are great stages, iconic stages, masterful game design. The Forest Temple 15 minutes into the Forest Temple, you realize that Adult Link is going to blow away everything you've done as Kid Link. Like, you just leveled up in the same game.
Yeah.
Like, you leveled up in design and gameplay in the same game. And that's when you realize, you know, they've lovingly made a sucker of you, because the Kid Link shit is the tutorial level. Yeah. The slingshot is the tutorial for the bow. Uh-huh. Right? Like, the boomerang is the tutorial for the hook shot. Like, that is one of the most masterful things ever done in gaming, and it was one of my first ever I need a minute moments in gaming, because Forest Temple made 12-year-old me realize, Kid Link was the tutorial level. Yeah, like it was the tutorial level. Yeah. 30 hours of gameplay would have been a 9 out of 10 game on its own. Was the tutorial level. Yep. And now you're about to embark on your epic quest to save the world in a post-apocalyptic Hyrule. Like, oh my god, I gotta stop. You can just go round and round in circles. I think up until this most recent one, pretty much every Zelda game has been trying to live up to Ocarina of Time since then. Yeah, and I mean, you could argue that Breath of Wild, most people are saying it's the best Zelda game since Ocarina. Uh-huh. It only managed to achieve this because it tried to be its own thing. Yeah. Like, everyone has tried to live up to Ocarina and failed. Like, they just can't. It was too good. Yeah. And Zelda had to go in a new direction to rediscover that level of greatness. Like, that level of greatness. Yeah. And I'm not talking shit about Twilight Princess. What an incredible game. I actually liked Twilight Princess a lot. A lot of people shit on Twilight Princess. I mean, I'm a huge Majora's Mask fan myself. I think that might... A lot less people shit on Majora's Mask. That one is getting... They did when it came out. They did. Because it wasn't Ocarina. Yes. And it tried to do a lot of unique stuff. Yeah. But man, is it good. We got to stop. We could go on for 30 minutes on that title, on Half-Life, on StarCraft. Instead, let's update the best game Olympics, shall we? So after the most stacked year so far, the only change we've had in the platform war is that Nintendo 64 has jumped from the number 8 spot to the number 6 spot, deservedly so, knocking Genesis and Game Boy down a peg. Other than that, it's still PC, SNES, NES, PlayStation. Although NES and SNES, I'm thinking, might have their last year at the top here. It's possible. It's possible. 1999 is gonna punch him in the jaw. Yeah, it's definitely possible. Blizzard has climbed on the developer list from number 8 to number 5, thanks to StarCraft. And Capcom is staying strong. Yeah. Konami's back on the list. They were knocked off previously, but with Suikoden, they're back in at number 10. Nation Wars hasn't changed. It's still US, Japan, UK, France in that order. US's lead has actually widened a little bit. Last week it was only about 10 points. Now they're ahead by like 25. So we'll have to see where that goes. Getting kind of cool, and I like that we're doing it. It's kind of cool. Yeah, this is fun to track. This has been my pet project, and it seriously is so much busy work every week, but I love doing it. It's fun to track. Definitely, yeah. But that's 1998, y'all. Yeah. Send a thank you to the gamer gods that it even happened. One for the ages, yeah. I'm not sad because it's over. I'm glad because it happened. Yeah. And because we can go back. We're talking right now about doing an Ocarina playthrough, so... and we're doing more than talking about it. Like, that's one of those ideas, you said it, you voiced it, and it has to happen. Yeah. Like, I'm in utter agreement. I've actually never played the Master Quest version. I've only played the original N64 I'm thinking we're going to need to shop either for a Wii or a GameCube and bring that into the Lore House living room and get after things a little bit. Yeah. And that'll be a lot of fun. Definitely. So you can read the whole written version of this list on loresworn.com, which, as you may know, is our website. It's just as gushy, but in paragraph form. Yeah, exactly. We love this, y'all. We launched we're launching Classy as Fuck as a sort of a Facebook Live series. Yeah. Pay attention to that. Check out the Loresworn Facebook page. We haven't done as much with it in the past, but we're changing that. Yeah. Kaiserreich New American Century is coming into its final act. Like, our USA is kind of about to pick a fight with the world. And it's coming into its final act. We're almost ready.
Yeah.
And we're starting a new Stellaris series here imminently that we think you guys are going to love. It's very different from the other Stellaris we've played.
Yeah, we've got lore written, and it's going to be pretty cool.
Yep, you're going to enjoy the whole idea behind it, I think. We'll intro that in our intro to the stream, so keep an eye on Twitch for that, and our Twitter for the announcement.
Twitch.tv/Loresworn Order.
And get excited for some of our other projects that you haven't heard about yet. In a couple of months, you're going to learn all about what those are, and we're proud of them. Mm-hmm. We're proud of the progress we've made. We're proud of the ambition we've shown. And we're really excited to kind of communicate with you guys, our ever-growing community, about how we can work together to realize some of these goals.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of fun. There's jobs and interaction for everybody in it, and we're really excited. So keep your eyes peeled. Stay glued. Check in on us whenever you remember, because the coming months are going to be game changers. I feel confident in saying.
I do not disagree.
Alrighty, we'll see you guys.
Yep. Oh, and at Loresworn Order on Twitter. Yep.
That's the key. If you're gonna follow one social media account, do that one.
Yeah, that's the best single place for everything.
Peace.
Bye.